poetry, fiction, and nonfiction. And if you're ever in for a delight, come to the awards ceremony. It's the who's who of the literary world in the schools, and it's a wonderful program. But they also underwrite a lot of the programs that we do on a regular basis and make them available to the community. They've helped us out with purchasing furniture as we do various different things. They have just, what I say often is they're our secret sauce that makes us from a good library to a great library. So if you all are a member, even if you weren't a member when you came in here tonight, which means you get advance notice of all the author visits, but think about volunteering or participating more in the Friends because they are such a great organization. With that, I'm going to introduce you to Mary Thies, who is on the board of the Friends of the Ferguson Library. And I forgot to mention, you can purchase books. If you need a second one, they're on sale, I think. We still may have a few left.
Last count, I think there are only 8 left. So if you want one and it's a discounted price, be sure and pick one up afterwards. And if you wanted a different cookbook by Mr. Pépin, our bookshop downstairs has gathered all of their supply of Jacques Pépin cookbooks. So you can check that out on your way home as well. We are glad that you are here this evening. Just a reminder that Mr. Pépin has agreed to do additional personalization of your cookbooks after the program is over, and there will be a time for Q&A also at the end of their presentations. We are so delighted to welcome Jacques Pépin and Michel Nichon this evening. Mr. Pépin, I think, must be a person of enormous enthusiasm and creativity because he has authored some 30 cookbooks. He has written for the New York Times and countless food magazines. He starred in 12 acclaimed cooking shows on PBS, taught for 30 years at the Culinary Arts program at Boston University, and has served as Dean of Special Programs at the International Culinary Center of New York City. I don't have to tell you he's received countless awards and recognitions, including France's highest civilian award, the Legion of Honor. And in his spare time, he has founded the Jacques Pépin Foundation, which supports community kitchens that offer free life skills and culinary training to adults with high barriers to employment, including people who have been incarcerated, who have suffered under homelessness or substance abuse, have low skills or educational attainment or a lack of a work history. He's helping people move into the real world. Interviewing Mr. Pépin tonight is Michel Nichon, a 4-time James Beard Award-winning chef with more than 35 years of experience advocating for more healthful, sustainable food systems. He is the founder and president of Wholesome Crave, a food company selling responsibly sourced, plant-forward soups to large-scale dining facilities and direct to customers. A portion of the gross sales from Wholesome Crave benefits Wholesome Wave, a nonprofit food equity organization which he founded along with the late actor Paul Newman. He is also the co-founder of the James Beard Foundation's Chef's Boot Camp for Policy and Change. He is the author of 3 cookbooks and many articles focused on sustainable food systems and social equity through food, and an advocate for the right of all in America to exercise their right to feed themselves and their families well, regardless of race, ethnicity, income, or economic condition. In 2015, the James Beard Foundation honored him with its Humanitarian of the Year award. We are so privileged to have these 2 gentlemen with us tonight. Take it away.
Hello. Oh,
Right, it works.
hello, hello. Oh, so four James Beard Awards, 3 cookbooks, 16 James Beard Awards, 30 cookbooks. Underachiever here. I just have to say.
I'm 45 years older than you.
Or are you saying that I'm just getting started and there's hope for me? Oh my God. Ooh, I'm so excited now. I'm going to wake up even earlier tomorrow morning. No, so full transparency, I've had the privilege of knowing this fine young man for some time now. But we have a lot of conversations, but I think this is pretty interesting because these folks here love you, they admire you, but I think every opportunity they get, they would love to learn more about you. So I'm going to try to help them do that. Is that okay with you?
Yes, you don't have to say a lot already.
Okay. Yes, they did, but not important things like
You don't have
boxer
wine?
briefs or tidy whities.
You
I'm
don't-
just kidding.
You don't have wine?
I don't have wine.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
suppose. So I'll just answer the question wherever we go. If somebody asks Jacques the question, would you like water? He says, I don't drink water. Good way to get started. Anyway, Kelsey Whitsett, who really is the brains of the operation that keeps everything rolling on time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Kelsey is my boss also.
Yeah, Kelsey is his boss. You should see. It's remarkable. Anyway, so it's interesting to me because when we track your very beginning from having, a family in the restaurant business and all of that going into apprenticeship, eventually becoming the chef of French presidents, working in some of the finer restaurants in France and then here in New York, it would seem that you were aiming towards being a Paul Bocuse or a Thomas Keller, and that was going to be your career trajectory, making it to the top. But you didn't go there. Why?
Because I had 14 fractures in an accident. Remember?
Was it the accident really that stopped? Was this accident pre-Howard Johnson's or?
No, it was after, but I wasn't supposed to leave. And they said you will never walk again. So I still have a drop foot, but yes, I had that very bad accident. So that kind of pulled me out of the kitchen, certainly a lot. So I had started already writing for the New York Times and other. So I moved more in that direction. I mean, that was, quite.
Did you want to go that trajectory of Bocuse or?
I never really thought of it in this way. I mean, life is funny. You do a little decision and that changes your life. You don't realize. I mean, I came to America in 1959 for 1 year, maybe 2 years at the most. Most people come to America for economic reason, to get a better life, or political reason, or racial reason, or whatever. I didn't have any of this. I had a great job in Paris and all that too. So, but I still wanted to come to America. America was the golden fleece, and but I wanted to come for a year or two and so forth, and I'm here still. So sometimes you do
You're
a small,
late.
a
You're
small
late
decision.
leaving.
Yeah, right. You do a small decision, and that projects you in a different direction, and then you do another decision, project you here, and so forth.
And what was it that actually drew you to Howard Johnson? Because the thing that I love about it, and many of us because so many cooks who didn't avail themselves or didn't have the opportunity to be an apprentice or go to school would start in like truck stops or whatever it might
Right.
be. And Howard Johnson's fed like a lot of people, so it's kind of like super fancy stuff for the president of France, Howard Johnson's. Explain that.
Right. Well, someone introduced me the other day and said that man was chef to 3 French presidents, and the 3 of them are dead. So, and it's true. No, but I'm saying that because I went to Howard Johnson in 1960. I worked at the Pavilion in New York, which was considered maybe the greatest restaurant. And in 1960, I was offered the job at the White House. for Kennedy, and I went to Howard Johnson. You have to look at it in the context of the time. When I was with de Gaulle in France, I served Eisenhower, Nehru, Tito. Those were the head of state at the time. Not anyone ever would call you to the dining room for kudo and applaud. That did not exist. The cook was in the kitchen in the back. No one ever came there. It was another world. Any good mother would have wanted her child to marry a lawyer, a doctor, not a cook. Now we are genius, you see? Yes, what happened? I don't know what happened. So it was a totally different world, I've never been on television barely existed, but on a radio show or magazine or newspaper in France, absolutely not, didn't exist. So to be truthful, when I was asked to go to the White House in 1960, I really didn't really realize the potential. I was here for a while. I was going to Colombia. I was doing other things, and I didn't want to change again. And I thought that, and I think I was right, I thought that Howard Johnson was totally different, another world for me. When I stayed at Howard Johnson from 1960 to 1970, 10 years. When I left, I opened a restaurant on Fifth Avenue called La Potagerie with mass production of soup. Then I opened the World Trade Center with Joe Baum. We served 40,000 people a day. The production that I did, that I was a consultant at the Russian Tea Room. I'm only saying that to say I would never have been able to do those jobs as a French chef with what I knew. Howard Johnson, I didn't know anything about marketing, mass production, chemistry of food. So I learned a great deal there. It did change my life and my career.
And was that from a curiosity for the system? Like, wow, there's got to be a way to make, because Howard Johnson was serving a few thousand meals a day, weren't they? Some of their places,
Yes.
like a lot of those highway stops were. Was it like there's got to be a way to make this food delicious?
You're right. In 2000, Time magazine wrote a couple of issue on the 100 most important people of the 20th century. It started with Henry Ford, finished with Bill Gates. One of them was Ray Kroc, who created McDonald's, And I had met him several times with Mr. Johnson doing one thing or another. So I wrote the piece for them, and during a bit of research that I did there, I realized that in 1964, 1965, Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, and Burger King, the three companies together were smaller than Howard Johnson. We serve the most people in America after the American Army. After the Army, it was so it was big. We had 1,100 restaurants, 300 motels. So it was a very large company. In addition to that, there was the grocery division starting to serve. So it was another division. We served for hospital as well. So it was a pretty interesting job, So
Well, that's a distributed model. I actually didn't know that about Howard Johnson, that they were actually in the healthcare. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, we did all of that. And Mr. Johnson, Howard D. Johnson, was a great guy. I mean, he came to my wedding. He came to the christening of my daughter, and so forth. So, yes.
And then he ended up on the FBI most wanted list because he was following you around. Now, so
Well, the FBI is the Food and Beverage Institute.
that's right. Let's be clear, full transparency. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. I don't want to dwell on it a bunch, but in that work, because you're really Howard Johnson. For so many of you were not alive in the '60s that are in this room, and many of us were, but really was like the everyday American. It was salespeople out on the road,
Right.
And did that at all? Because I mean now I look at where you're at and how many people you reach with your message, with your food. Was that like the kernel of a beginning, making food delicious and in 1960, there wasn't a lot of really good food in America.
But it was very challenging and so forth. The first thing that we did, I went there with Pierre Freinet. I have to say, Pierre Freinet was the executive chef of the Pavillon Mr. Johnson hired him, and Pierre wanted me to go with him. That's what happened. So, and Pierre was the vice president, and I was director of research development. So, but we started by putting fresh butter, which came in block of 64 pounds instead of margarine, fresh onion instead of dehydrated onion. I mean, we started by changing basically all of the ingredients to be fresh products. I'm talking about the commissary in Queens Village, New York, was the largest there was 12 commissary, but this was the largest one. We have commissary of ice cream. Remember, Howard Johnson was 28 flavor, was very well known for So yes, we started by changing all of the ingredients too, and we had carte blanche. Mr. Johnson was very generous this way. So okay, you do whatever you have to do to change and do. So it was exciting. It was new and exciting.
It's amazing to hear that from somebody with such a training pedigree to move into such a scaled system and be excited about it.
Yeah, right.
But I think it speaks to your spirit of wanting to reach everybody, as many people as possible, and help them understand that cooking is something that everybody should endeavor to do at least a little bit of, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, people talk to me still about the fried clam at Howard Johnson. Well, well,
that means shaka in Hawaiian. That's a good thing.
We could not do the fried clam today. We had clam, at that time it was a special thing. We had clam which were that size. I mean, I've never seen clam that big. They were like 3 pounds from deep sea. At so and so. We opened those clam and we only used the tongue. The tongue on top. Yeah. So we cut and put it through a machine to do the long strip, to do the clam chowder, to do the fried clam, and the rest of the body of the clam, we did the clam chowder. Yes. So, it was interesting thing, fun, and we had good food. And I remember inviting like André Saltner, if you know, was the chef and owner of Lutèce in New York, considered maybe the greatest restaurant in America. So I invite all those guys all the time to my house, and I give them food or whatever, and they say, that's good. Well, I say, it's frozen stuff from Howard Johnson. They say, are you kidding? So I always did that.
Consistency is important.
Yeah, right.
So I want to take you here. I hope you guys don't mind me asking questions from the perspective of a cook. But I remember, because I started in restaurants in the late 1970s, and I do remember my girlfriend, before I met Lori, when she told her parents that she was dating
a cook.
A cook. No, she actually said a chef, which I had just become, and they said, no. No, you're not. I remember it. So I will tell you, and at the risk of making you feel uncomfortable, I know the contribution that you, Pierre Franet, Craig Claiborne, Mimi Sheridan, James Beard, you guys were this posse that were really helping America at a time where it needed to think differently about food. Think differently about food. I will say, I'm saying it, I'm not asking you to comment on this. I'm saying that you guys did that, and you laid the groundwork for us not to become geniuses. I will never, ever say I'm a genius. I'll say you're a genius. But can you own that? Can you own that, the role that you played? And who's missing in the conversation that doesn't get the credit that they should?
When I came here in 1959, I live in Manhattan between First and Second Avenue on 50th Street, right in the center of downtown, midtown rather. A little restaurant there, like Toc Blanche is the guy who sponsored me to come here. The first time, a few months after I was here, I went to a supermarket, and the supermarket were new here too. In France, they did not exist yet. I go to that supermarket and I say, "Shit, this is a great idea." Instead of going to the fish guy, the vegetable guy, the meat guy, so everything under the same
place, yeah.
Everything under the same roof. However, packaging too. There was great beef. There was great lobster, which for me, but there was one salad. It was iceberg. That's it. There was no leek. There was no shallot. There was no oriental vegetable. There was no olive oil. It was another world altogether. I remember being there, after a couple of nights, say, "Where are the mushrooms?" They say, "Aisle 5." That was canned mushroom. And there's nowhere there was no mushroom. You have to go to a specialty store. So look at the market now. Too. I mean, the world is totally different. There was no great bread in America, great wine to start with, great cheese. Now people are producing extraordinary cheese and bread and wine from different parts of the country. So it's another. This is not because of me.
No, listen, I'm going
It
to
has
push.
nothing to do with me,
No,
but the thing has moved.
Jacques, I'm going to push back on that.
Yeah.
I think if you guys, and I don't know if it was the original intention or you were just sharing through your writings each of your genuine love through food, which all came through different perspectives, right? But that something about when you all got together and started doing each of your individual pieces and sometimes co-writing stuff together, it changed the way America thought about food, which is why grocery stores are better today. You played a part in that. What was it? Was it just by accident because you guys just really liked and respected and trusted each other, or was there something where it's like we got to get these folks to think differently about food?
The food world was very small when I came to America. 6 months after I was here, I knew James Beard, Craig Claiborne, who started at the New York Times, and Julia Child. Those were the three, maybe the trinity of American cooking, those three people. So the food world was very small. You said yourself that you started. I did not know an American chef, a white American chef, white guy American chef for years. All the chefs that I knew in New York were from Italy, France, Spain, Switzerland a lot, and so forth. And then when I decided to go work for Howard Johnson, Mr. Johnson said, well, if Jacques wants to work with us, he should work in one of our restaurants for a while. So I went to Queens Boulevard, the big Howard Johnson on Queens Boulevard there. When I get into the kitchen, all the kids behind the stove were black kids. Well, they had never heard of the Pavillon, probably never heard of de Gaulle.
Nor did they
So
care.
I had to prove my thing, get behind the stove and start flipping stuff on the... So it was another world, of course. And then with the CIA, that is the Culinary Institute of America, who started in New Haven, actually, and went upstate New York, then it started creating chefs. And, from Thomas Keller to Tom Colicchio to you, we have extraordinary chefs in this country now, American, but it was totally different at that time.
It's amazing. Well, I just want to go on record for saying that me and so many people in our culinary community credit Jacques and his posse and the posse that he shared for changing food in America. So
No, not really. Not really, but fine.
Deal
Thank
with
you,
it.
Thank you.
Deal with it.
All right, thank you
Okay.
very much.
I think when we think about cooking my way, I mean it's like this is book number 30 or book number 30 what?
32.
Kelsey, can you verify? What number book is this?
You know why we
Wow.
don't know? Because I did. Right. So